I think that goes to show the kind of staff and everybody there. We saw them walking around all the time. Those guys are working so hard, which that's a thing that's kind of crazy is because all those guys and girls, like they're huge fans of Call of Duty, but man, they're not watching the games. They have very little, if no time at all to be doing that. They're trying to accommodate and make sure that everything is running smoothly and that the operation doesn't have any hiccups at all. But I mean, man, Boston Breach and Oxygen, they just do such a good job. They are so intuitive as to what the fans want. They just listen to the feedback and they're always want to get better. Just credit to all those guys.
Yeah, you definitely could tell they looked at the feedback and they took it and implemented all the feedback. Welcome everyone to episode 155 of the COD Casuals. We're your hosts, Justin.
And I'm Mike.
How you doing, Mike?
Doing okay.
Okay.
No, man, I'm doing great. I mean, yeah, we're in a different setting, obviously, compared to what we've been before. We were in a hotel.
Yep.
So it's a little bit different. So we apologize for the drop in quality a little bit. We know it's not usually up to like par as to what we usually have, but it is what it is. This is a very makeshift setup. We are coming fresh out of the MGM Music Hall at Fenway in Boston. We just finished up. This is Sunday. We're doing this at 11:15 at night.
Yep.
This is from the last day of Major 1 for the CDL. And, bro, this was awesome. This was such a good time. So I'm doing great.
I'm doing great, too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. It was, it was our second major and also second major in Boston. Third major, sorry. But second major in Boston. And it was awesome, right? Like last year we did a post review of the first Boston major and we were like super happy, right? A couple things like here and there I think we got annoyed about, but overall this one, like they fixed basically everything.
Yeah. No, they did. And on a personal level for myself, I think from last time that I was doing this, I was getting sick. Mm-hmm. And now this time before this week, so this is the whole thing is that I was sick at the start of the week and I was like, brother, of course, of all weeks, I'm going to get sick. It's right at the start of this. And I was just sleeping all the time. like I was like an infant. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up coming here feeling good, and I'm still feeling good. And yeah, I'm still feeling fantastic for everybody at the Breach and like just of Oxygen, because this event, like you were saying, man, it was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing that... there's very little. I have to really think about it while we're doing this as to what they could improve upon. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure as we talk, we can probably like think of like a couple things, but maybe we leave that for the survey or whatever. But overall, like, it was fantastic.
Yeah. I'm thinking that like of things that like could be improved. It's just things that could make it even better is like a better way to say it, because there was nothing from watching or like being at the event that I'm like, oh dude, I wish they had X, it was just always like everything was as good as it could be. It would just be more stuff that like could make it even more awesome as time goes on.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, man, we can just like start for the whole experience because we've done this every time now.
Yeah, exactly.
Is AKA 2 other times.
Yeah. So it's weird because this is a first podcast where we've like recorded in like a month, technically.
Yeah.
Like together in person and
Good to see you, bro.
And not like in advance.
Yeah.
Because so like the last like 2 episodes I think or 3 episodes we all banged those out in like a week and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
To prep for the major. And so now you guys get us like live technically.
Yeah. Like back to our normal schedule.
Yeah. But yeah, we can start off, so if you guys are here listening and expecting Call of Duty, season 1 update, stuff like that, you might want to wait till the next episode because this is all about Major 1 in Boston. So let's start off with Thursday, day 1.
Right. So we didn't roll in together this time.
Yeah.
I went and rode with our buddy who was going to be here. So he came. Well, actually, no. Yeah, he went and picked me up. Then you went and took the train in. Mm-hmm. We linked up. We're at the Verb Hotel. We can say that.
Shout out
the Verb Hotel. It's a great spot. And it was just like deja vu because this is where we stayed last time. So it just like right when we come back here and I like pulled up and like we go and see each other, we're like, dude, what's up? It's just like all floods back again. I'm like, here we go. It's the same thing. Like it's just like clockwork. It's all the same people. Like 90% of the same people from last time we were here. They're back again, which is I mean I love that. I love seeing some of the same people at the hotel. Going to the event, you see like the people in the line, like the people that are right up at the front. It's all the same people. Yeah, I mean, so we grab all our stuff, we set it down, and I think we pretty much just like we hung out for maybe a little bit here, the three of us, you, me, and our friend, and then we're like, okay, matches start like in I don't know half hour or so. We went in, and yeah, I mean it was awesome.
Yeah, that's basically what we did. Yeah, Thursday. I mean, we walked to the event. The walk to the event is like maybe 5 minutes from the hotel, which is why like we booked this place. It's like it's awesome, and yeah, like you said, the people here, it's always super fans.
Yeah,
if you go back and listen to the episode with Dylan on it, he said that esports fans are like the most educated fans about their esport, and it's so true, and they're like super fans. So we strolled up and people are already like in line, right? And it's always the same people too, and it's just awesome seeing it's like a family reunion, seeing everyone.
Yeah, it
again.
is. I was gonna say that's probably the best term that you could say for it. It's like it's a family reunion. But something that I will say like right off the bat that was better this time around is, so if you don't remember, if you've never been to a COD event, they have like VIP and then they have just general admission like any other event. Last year at the event, the line between VIP and general admission was kind of blurred. It wasn't really like regards to being outside, I should say, because when you lined up, it was supposed to be that, okay, VIP is up front, and then they're going to get inside first and all that stuff, which kind of got like a little hazy, because there'd be some people that would be mixed in, and then, like it was just a question like, can I jump the line if I'm in the way back, all stuff. Now it was that like VIP had its own separate line, and they were let in at a completely different time compared to general admission, which made it so much smoother.
Yeah, and I added this on the feedback that they requested. That was like a big pet peeve of mine, because when you pay for a VIP experience, you want that experience, right? You want to get in a half an hour early, you get your front row seats, all that. And I think a big part of it was just getting this MGM staff to like understand like, hey, this needs to be enforced. And they definitely enforced it, because they had employees walking up and down the line like, hey, this is VIP only, are you VIP? And they did that multiple times.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you were in the VIP line and you had a GA ticket, and you probably just weren't listening. And it's just awesome, because I think if you can go to a Call of Duty event, if you have the funds and you can do it, definitely go VIP, because that experience is awesome. I can't speak for other events, but for the Boston event, we were able to line up early, get in there a half an hour early, so you get your front row seats, whatever, right? You can go get your food, all the merch and stuff that you want beforehand, and just chill out before the game. And you got like other extra perks that we can talk about. Like we were able to go to the Mass Mutual Lounge, which we talked about the last time we reviewed it. And it was a lot better this time, in my opinion, because they sold less VIP tickets compared to last year, but they bumped the VIP tickets, the price at least. And that was something I recommended in my survey, because it just felt like there are too many people in VIP last year, and the Mass Mutual Lounge at least got packed. I remember there was a point where we were just standing and we couldn't even move.
Yeah, I do
because there were
remember
too
that.
many people there.
Yeah. No, I remember that being a very difficult time, like trying to go around there, because they had the same kind of setup. They had like a VIP party where they have hors d'oeuvres and drinks, like with an open bar and stuff, and you're hanging around, and it's great. Last year, for sure, it was definitely packed, and I mean, I'd say even just as a fan and as somebody, like, you kind of want to feel that bit of exclusiveness when you go to those things and you pay for it. And you definitely got that this time now. Because I remember when we went to that, like, it was so free reign. Like, you could really walk around. There was way less people. And then, of course, too, they had Scump, who everybody knows who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing his watch party in there live, which was awesome. And it was nice that you could go. Well, even on Thursday, I should say, they had they did do that, I believe. But then they also he was doing like 1v1 tournaments.
Yeah, 1v1s. Yeah.
But you could get really close. Like it wasn't like last year where you'd walk through the door and you're like, okay, I can't really move anymore.
Yeah.
This time you could walk around and you could definitely see him. I mean, there was times where we were at the watching the watch party live there, and you're like, oh my god, like you can just walk right up to him,
yeah,
and hang out.
Yeah, I think the best part was that this time around, everyone had they had their chance to, be up front.
Yeah,
and then obviously at any event you get the people that get to the front and they don't let anyone else.
Right.
But besides that, I think everyone did have a chance to like get up and get their pictures of them and whatever, right? And also, I just wanted to mention that obviously the first time Oxygen and Breach held this event, figured obviously things are going to go, bump in the night, but they really cleaned it up this time. And not to say like the first event was bad or anything. It was just, the first time they ever ran an event in Boston. And they cleaned it up a lot this time going around.
Yeah.
A lot.
And I mean, I think that goes to show like the kind of staff and everybody there, like, we saw them walking around all the time. Those guys are working so hard and all the time, which that's a thing that's kind of crazy is because all those guys that are working there, those guys and girls, like they're huge fans of Call of Duty, but man, they're not watching the games. Like they have very little, if no time at all to be doing that. They're trying to accommodate and make sure that everything is running smoothly and that the operation doesn't have like any hiccups at all. Which, I mean, that shows, like, I saw a lot of people talking about, because we'll get to it, like, especially today, what had happened, which was awesome. People already knew it going into the weekend. But, like, I mean, man, Boston Breach and Oxygen, they run events better than, I think, any other league. And I could comfortably say that. Like, any other team. They just do such a good job. They are so like intuitive as to what the fans want, and then they're also like you said, the feedback. They just listen to the feedback, and they always want to get better. Where I think some teams and like some organizations, it's not like you can't just blanket statement say it, but they may not all do that. They may like take your feedback and then kind of do some small stuff. This was just a complete, like almost overhaul. They just made it so much better for everybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, just credit to all those guys. It was like day one, you could tell all the differences.
Yeah, you definitely could tell they looked at the feedback and they took it and implemented all the feedback. And yeah, I mean, we've only gone to one other event outside of Boston, which was a New York event. That was our first ever event, and again, that event was great. Like we had a lot of fun. And I think each venue and event is going to be, it's obviously going to be different, right? Because it's going to be a whole different team,
right?
Organizing it and planning it. But, from our perspective, like Oxygen and Breach they just blow it out the water.
Yeah.
You can tell with the staff, you can tell with how they implemented like all the feedback changes. They talked to everyone at MGM, like their own staff, and told them, hey, this is a deal, please, push this if someone's doing something wrong or whatever, right? Like a good example is the VIP line. Like I love that they had employees just going up and down the line. Like this is VIP, this is GA. So there was no confusion at all because last year there was none of that.
Right.
So, people were cutting lines. People were like either going all the way to the back and they're VIP and they're like, what? Why'd I pay VIP if I can't go to the, front of the line? And the Mass Mutual Lounge, you have to have a VIP badge that everyone got
and they
to
were
like go up
checking,
there.
too.
Yeah, and they checked everyone, and that's awesome, because you should treat your top VIP members, like they're VIP members.
Yeah,
you don't want someone who didn't pay for VIP to get in there and not be and take advantage of the VIP status, right?
Right. Yeah, and I think especially too now that we've had the opportunity to sit down with people like Dylan, which again, if you haven't checked out that episode, highly recommend it. like after talking to guys like that, you get to have a different view on what it actually takes to pull off these events. And it's just, you have a greater appreciation for it. You know, like you were saying before, like there's plenty of other staff at other organizations that are running it, which, everyone's gonna have their different way of doing it, and every venue, I'm sure, presents its own challenges. And it just shows, like, especially since we've, this is now the second time we've been to the same venue with Boston, to see how that staff, which I'd imagine it's pretty much all the same people, and of course working with the CDL, how they've been able to implement those changes and make it a better experience. I mean, you just got to take your hat off to them. Like, it's really awesome to see. It's good to see that every year this has gotten better so far, for a viewer, and it makes it more worth it, So like the VIP thing, like people were complaining about it being worth more money, but I think now, like, that extra money, I mean, for us, like, it's worth it. We'll pay it no matter what, but the experience that you get from it, it was worth that money.
Yeah, completely agree. And I want to shout to, you mentioned, Dylan, and we were able to catch up with him when he had like some downtime before he was running around again.
Yeah.
And this dude had I forget how many partners he had to go around to, but there were a lot of partners there, helping fund the event and showing all their products and stuff, and he was just running around everywhere, right? So he wasn't able to catch every single minute of the match, but you have to appreciate the staff. Like he's not just closing deals and trying to get partners for them, he's also on the floor,
right,
like doing the work, and that's with everyone on that staff. And I can say too that we haven't met everyone on that staff, but it's a small team.
Yeah.
To run an event like that, obviously they have help, but the amount of stuff that they have to do with the small staff that they have, very impressive. No. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was evident throughout the entire weekend. Like I said, just from day one we go in there, you can see it, which going back, we go in day one. I mean, the games, I'm trying to totally remember what they were.
Yeah.
Because it was such a blur. But that day was all, I believe that was all winners finals.
It was winners. Yeah, it was all winners.
Yeah, it was all winners finals.
The big one was New York getting knocked down.
Yeah, because New York played, was it
Rocker?
Yeah, New York played Minnesota Rocker.
I want to say it was Rocker.
I think you're right. Yes, you are right. Yeah, New York played Rocker, and then New York lost to them, which was a big shock.
New York lost to Rocker, and then on day 2, it was losers, and that's when New York got knocked out by
London. Or not London, I keep saying London, but Carolina.
The Carolina Ravens, Clayster's team.
Yeah, that was, I would say, of the biggest week or the biggest weekend, that was the biggest bust. That team... a lot of people were putting them up in the top 4, and I still would. I don't think that them losing, even though most people would say that's ridiculous, they got dead last. They didn't win anything. I think you can always chalk that up to they obviously did not play that well. What you attribute that to, who really knows? But that team just won the World Championship last year. I give that team more time. But yeah, that was definitely the biggest upset. It was funny though, because Carolina, most people wrote this team off, and they ended up signing, who was it? It was TJ Haley and Felony, or Fellow as he was known. They picked up these 2 people. I don't even know if they maybe played a couple of online matches as a team, and then they showed up to LAN, and everyone was just really excited because those 2 players, they've been around for a long time. And then, of course, Clayster on the team, and then Gwyn being the new guy.
The rookie.
Yeah. That team became, the fan favorite.
Yeah.
Everybody was cheering that team on. So then when they beat New York, I mean, everyone was shocked. I could not believe that they beat New York.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't believe it either. And speaking of, New York, this happened the last Boston Major, too. Yeah. They got double first-rounded.
Yeah.
But also then they went on and won COD Champs.
Yeah.
So, again, I completely agree with you. I'm not going to say it was a fluke, but, they probably, better team just showed up.
Yeah.
Both of those days, and it was funny because we were sitting upstairs on the second level, and Hydra and Kismet were just sitting behind us, with their friends and family, just like chilling, like laughing, and I've heard that the New York team, they take like losses like pretty well. Like they don't sulk in them for so long. They're like, we just didn't play as good.
Yeah.
The end of story. And I think that's really good because, you don't want to sulk in a loss like too much because then, again, they got eliminated on Friday. You want to chalk up the rest of the weekend the whole time? Like, oh, we should be here, all you can do is just enjoy yourself for the next couple of days.
Yeah, and I agree on that. Like on a personal level, that's definitely how you want to do it. And then on the professional side too, like you got to improve. Like if you're just sitting around sulking and being like, oh dude, this is awful, it's like, all right, like yeah, we lost, like for sure that sucks, we can definitely do better than that, but we got to start like trying to work towards getting better. Like what can we do to get better, and when we end up going back to wherever their facility is, then we can start working on that stuff. But hey, like for now we lost, like it's not ideal, but it's all right. Like it's not do or die that we ended up losing. And that's for like pretty much all the teams, I would say, throughout the week. Like, yeah, it really sucks that you got, eliminated and you didn't win. But, hey, it is what it is. It's not going to do you any good if you're just crying into your pillow all weekend,
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it was cool, though, to see, like, the upset teams come in.
Oh, yeah,
That was fun.
Yeah. And then speaking of day 2, like, that's when our boys at Boston played.
Yep.
It wasn't the outcome that we wanted or anyone really wanted. That's a Boston fan. They got eliminated by the Seattle Surge. It went all the way to Game 5 in Search and Destroy, and
it was a high-rise search.
High-rise search, yeah, and they just Boston just couldn't close it out. Now I can go deep into like analytics or whatever, but they just couldn't close it out. They did have opportunities to close it out. They just made, some mistakes. And that's what happens when you make, small mistakes against, a professional team.
Yeah.
Like, they'll take advantage of it. And Seattle definitely took advantage of it, so.
Yeah, and especially for that, too. Like, I mean, they lost, I believe Boston lost both of the Search and Destroys. And then lost to Seattle on them. And then Seattle went on throughout the tournament. I think they played two. They played 2 more. The second one that they played, they lost to Optic.
Yep.
But they played Optic very close in the Search and Destroys too. Which just goes to show, like that team that Boston lost to, they were so strong in the Search and Destroys. Like that was their thing. That pretty much, I'd say, like carried them, but that was a big upside for them. And yeah, Boston, like overall, they looked really good as a team. Of course, like they didn't come out the way it wanted to, so there's things that they got to go back and work on. But yeah, that's how it is sometimes, and that's the thing. Like I don't know if people maybe who don't follow the CDL know, or like maybe you don't know, but there's some teams that are really good at certain game modes because of the players. Like that team, Seattle Surge, the main guy on there, Illy, he is considered one of the best S&D players. Like I would say not of all time, but he's definitely one of the best S&D players like in the league right now. I mean, he is his brain just works for Search and Destroy. And people always value him for that. So that team is just naturally good. At that mode.
Yeah, and we had Slasher, and Slasher like showed out, at this.
He's the same thing. He's so good too.
He killed it in Search. It wasn't enough.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and he had a really good series.
Yeah.
The one series that they played, but yeah, they finished like 11th, 12th. I'm pretty sure, and that obviously not the best because they didn't get any CDL points. At all, which doesn't help them because they're going to start falling now, and there's only 4 majors, so every like 10 points counts, so they can get so they can qualify for champs, right?
Yeah.
I feel like
raised the points too.
They did raise
last
the points.
Year. They raised the points, so I think it was like. I think it's 100 points if you win now. It used to be 60 or 70 or something like that.
I think it was 60.
Yeah. So
something
big
like
jump.
that. Yeah, it was a big jump, but yeah, not good that Boston didn't get any points at all. So hopefully, they have a week off. They take some time to reflect and bounce back for the next split, because we need points.
Yeah,
we need points.
Yeah,
we can't start falling down, because New York that didn't get any points. I can't imagine that those guys are just going to keep losing out. They're going to start racking up points pretty quick.
No, and I think that's the thing now. Like within this this season, especially like you said, only being 4 majors, teams are really desperate to make moves and get the ball rolling and try to make changes quickly. They're just always trying to find ways how can we improve and get better. You can't do that right when you lose. Boston's not going to be all right, we got to go back to the drawing board and change our game plan the next day or the day of. But once the major's over, I'm sure all these guys are back on a flight or, taking a drive back. For Boston, they just got to, probably take a, I don't know, bus
probably
ride,
ride, something like that.
Uber.
Yeah.
Back to Foxborough and just go over everything.
Yeah.
Because, it's a lot of points on the line. And if you're in one of those lower teams, like New York or Boston or another team that was a big surprise was Miami Heretics. These teams that have a lot of upside but didn't come out with anything, they really got to turn it up for the next 3 majors.
Yeah, there's not enough time.
Yeah.
There's very little time for mistakes. So something they just have to go back to the drawing board, figure something out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Boston, they didn't show out, but it's all right.
The mood was low.
It was very low that day too.
Yeah, it was very it was very somber.
Yeah.
Everybody in the crowd. When Seattle won, it was a very quiet crowd.
Yeah, and especially to us. I mean, it's not like we're at the facility all the time, but we've seen these players just grind and practice and practice and practice, and then you hate to see them not even win one series. And just off of little mistakes. Yeah. And now they're just out of the whole tournament, right? And also the home event too. Yeah. And it just sucks. And, there was a bunch of criticism too on Twitter for whatever reason, right? A little weird.
Because it's on Twitter.
Weird in my opinion if you're tweeting at the team that's hosting the major saying, "Oh, you guys suck. You guys are dog shit." They're hosting the major. I get banter and stuff, but that day there was a lot of hate going towards Boston for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of people who get upset in the moment and they think too quick with their thumbs and not their brain. Yeah. And they just start saying stuff.
That's a better way of thinking of it. Yeah. I just think they don't think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that the first thing that comes to their mind, they just go and they just want to write it down and be they're so angry, and they're emotional about it. But I think it's, first off, a lot of people, if you're someone who you support a team, I can't be the guy who goes and flip-flops on that team. You and I, we've said it so many times, we're going to be always supporting them no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's Call of Duty or if you're a football fan or hockey. When you've got your team, they're your team.
Yeah, yeah. And
you got to be through the thick and thin. And people with Boston Breach, people on Twitter where they jump ship and they're like, "Oh, dude, they suck." You know what? It's man, you're not a real fan if you're going to be talking like that. Yeah, in my opinion.
Oh no, I agree. And also I'm going to add to that in a positive way, right? If they lose, you lose with respect and you be positive about it, right? You don't throw shade at the players and the team when they're already down. No. You don't think they know. They know what happened. You don't need to just add on to it. And like you said, switching teams and whatever, I think we talked about on the Dylan podcast, you can like different players, right? You and I just have never been the type of people that hate a whole team and just talk a bunch of trash. Really say just weird stuff to players. Right. Because I think you and I realize that these are just people and we're watching them as entertainment. Yeah. And, they'll hear the fuck you, whatever player, right? And, okay, at the end of the day, I imagine that doesn't faze any of them because they're professionals, but they still hear it. And personally, I'd never say that to just some random person on the street.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to stay in my lane. I wouldn't do that. And again, you and I, we were cheering for Clayster, right? Because he's a fan favorite. We like him as a player. But then other people are like saying weird shit to him and whatever. And you and I just try to be like as positive as possible because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all here at like an esports event trying to, you know, make Call of Duty even bigger than it is. And I think people forget about that because some of the stuff that we heard being in the pit with the VIP members, wild.
Yeah,
wild.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff, like people just they want to say it because, you know, they want to have like their voice be heard on broadcast, which would not surprise me. It's kind of a sad thing.
Out of pocket. Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I think, like you said, the out-of-pocket comments that people make about players, or especially like, you know, people saying, you know, just heinous stuff. But this happens too at like every sport.
Oh yeah,
event. It's just like a sporting event thing.
Yeah.
Period. I've never understood that. I would say, like, for us, like, we try to be positive. I'm like, I think that's just like who we are where we're at events or just in general, you know. Like, I'm not gonna get up there and start playing. Like,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
No, exactly.
Like, these guys, like you say, he's trash. I'm like, bro, yeah. Like, is he? A better way is like he's not playing good right now.
Yeah.
You know, like some of my pick'ems, like I had a Beezy.
Yeah,
like the guy, some games. He didn't play well. That's pretty much there's like maybe a handful who like just were godlike the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that for me is what's so fun about the tournament and watching it, because again, like New York, clearly those guys, all of them did not play that well.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me that any of those guys are not good?
Yeah.
You know, like that people just, there's this thing called logic that people don't have. When they talk about this.
Yeah.
Again, they think what they're, like they just speak or they just start typing and they don't actually think stuff through logically.
And there's a difference between like banter. I'm all for like banter and like some trash talk, right?
Right.
But I'm talking more like people start bringing in like family friends. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, that's not in-game stuff. Like, leave that stuff out.
Yeah.
You know? Because, yeah, I just felt for... It's funny, like, we barely even talked to the Breach players, but, like, I felt for those guys. I'm like, dude, the stuff that people are saying to them and tweeting at them, I'm like, first off, it is just one event. It's their first event, you know? First time playing on LAN as a team. And it's not like they played bad, like overall in the series. They made, you know, mistakes, and Illy and team just took advantage.
Yeah. No, again, that's the way it goes. And then when you, like, we had a chance, like, today when we're recording this, like, because we're having a video that'll be coming out on our YouTube, and we were filming content for that. And then we had the opportunity to go and have a couple of pros on there. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys that was on there was on the Seattle team. And it's like, you just go and you stop and talk to him. And then I forget, because he's like, oh, man, like, I'm old. I'm like, dude, how old are you? He's like, 25. I'm like, oh, dude, we're 25. You know, I'm like, dude, this, like, he could just be like our friend. Yeah. He's a like, in the sense that he's just a normal guy. Yeah. You know? But these people, they say that because he's 20 feet away on a stage and can barely hear them. I'm like, but dude, if you were like we were right next to him, you're never going to say that stuff to him. You know, like it's kind of ridiculous. But it does, like, for me, that's why I like it so much. I like COD so much, because when you talk to these people, like, we all have that shared thing in playing Call of Duty. I'm like, oh, dude, like, these guys they're not gifted in the sense as, like, you know, I don't know, if I look at like an NFL player or like, you know, some of these guys where I'm like, dude, you like ooze athlete to me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, like Call of Duty, I'm like, dude, you're like, you play so much, you know, but you're a completely normal guy. Not to say those guys aren't normal, but there's like this kind of, I don't know.
I think it's
you know
because,
what I'm saying, though?
No, yeah, I think it's because they're more like, they're on social media more. And they interact with fans more. It's not like, you know, basketball players and football players are on, like, communicating with fans, like, all the time. Right. Like, they're not streaming on Twitch. Right. And talking to fans, like, every single day, stuff like that. But, yeah, no, besides that, like, besides, Boston losing out on Friday, still a good day. That was a late day. We got back pretty late. And then going into
After
day
food,
3.
that was like a 1 a.m. day.
Yeah, that was,
1 or 2 a.m.
It was a long day, yeah. And then day 3, going into the weekend on Saturday, what do we do? Oh, yeah, we woke up. We were able to shout out Boston Breach and everything. We were able to get media passes, and we were able to go in. We got a bunch of, like, cool shots, the venue, stuff like that. And, again, it's going to be on our YouTube channel, like, hopefully pretty soon by the time you guys see this. And it was just so cool to see the production team, at work.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there in the empty venue before everyone came in, and we were like, damn, this is what it takes to run this.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
Like, you look at the amount of seats, and you're like, wow, this entire venue is also spotless.
Yeah.
After each day, too, like, if you've ever been to a sporting event or any, like, event, right, people leave trash, they leave their drinks after, whatever, and it's a mess.
Right.
That gets cleaned up every single day.
Yeah.
And then the next day, all the chairs are in line again.
Yep.
Perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah.
Everything's nice and clean. And we were just sitting up there, like, overlooking the venue. We're like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
And seeing all, like, the announcer for it, Blaze, he's, like, pronouncing people's names, I just thought that
Test
part
runs.
Yeah. I thought that part was so funny. Because you watch a broadcast, he's, like, got so much energy. And then there's times there he's like, introducing the Boston Breach, and they're just like, yeah, good, you're good. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you get to the main broadcast, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, we got some great shots. Like I said, we'll share them. It's wild. It's really cool to see, again, like we were talking about earlier, what it really takes to run that. And we're just getting like a small glimpse of it. We didn't go backstage or anything, which I'm sure that's like a complete other entity.
Oh, yeah. Like, doing, like, full content for teams, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Shout out to, like, the Breach, like, Chris, Lando, Tyler, like, people that we've talked to. I can't wait till they put out
Oh, my God, it's going to be awesome.
their first episode this season. Those guys, again, running around with the camera everywhere. And I thought I got a lot of shots just for our stuff. These guys
probably did that in like one day.
These guys got 3 cameras.
Yeah.
The amount of footage that these guys got and have to comb through,
it's insane.
it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
But, yeah, shout out those guys. Like, I love those guys. They're so nice.
So we were able to go and kind of live some of that on Friday and then Saturday as well. And Saturday matches, what were those? Were those some winners and then some losers matches, I believe?
Yeah.
And at that point, like, Optic was starting to make a run. I think they were
playing in winners and they got knocked down to losers.
Yeah, FaZe had knocked. Was it FaZe? Yeah, FaZe knocked them down to losers. And then, by Saturday, it was like FaZe, Carolina, Rocker, what was the other team? LAG, which that was funny too. I thought that was like a weird storyline with that guy, Assault.
Yeah.
On this. If you go back and watch it, it was hilarious. I mean, LAG, like, I don't think many people expected much from that team. They did pretty well. I mean, they made it up until Saturday.
Yeah.
But that guy Assault, like, he was just doing this stupid thing with his hand, like with his hand warmers,
Yeah. So,
like doing this, like you could guess what the immature audience was like doing.
Yeah.
And the guy, like, I love it. He just saw that. Like, I think it was Thursday. He did it.
Yeah.
And you just hear the crowd. They're like, like screaming, and then they stop. When they go to somebody else, they boo. And they go back to him, and he had no idea. And then Friday rolls around, and Saturday rolls around, and he's coming out for the announcements, and he's got both hand warmers
shaking
in
his hand
hands.
warmers like that.
Oh, dude, that was so funny.
Yeah,
so there was him and like with Carolina, like Clayster. Everybody they were all over these guys, and they're vets too.
Yeah.
Like, they're some of the older players in the league, and people were just rallying around them and the whole teams, which I like. We talked like, some people that, kind of go a little bit overboard, but the majority of everybody that was there, that's what I love to see. Like they all come together and support those teams, and like band together on those players.
Yeah. And for context, for anybody, I don't even know if you could hear it on stream, but like when we were down, like on the floor, when they're switching between like assault and like the other team, and for context too, if you don't know why these players like all have hand warmers, it's because when they're playing they want to keep their hands warm, because if you've tried doing anything with your hands when they're super cold, it's hard to move. So that's why they always have hand warmers.
You cannot use a controller properly with cold hands.
Yeah.
So it's like impossible.
Yeah. So that's why they have hand warmers, and that's why he was shaking it like that. And it was just funny, the Boston crowd just went with it, and
in classic Boston fashion.
Yeah, classic Boston fashion. And the next day, it was so funny because clearly he went to the stream and was like, why were like they laughing and cheering just randomly, like booing and then cheering? And then he walked out and like played into the the whole thing.
And they loved it.
Oh yeah, they loved it. Everyone loved it.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you watched it. Yeah. And yeah, that was like one of the moments at the event, and with like Clay making it to he played on Friday, right? Yeah,
he played on Friday.
Yeah,
and I thought he played. Did he play on Saturday at all or no?
I can't remember. They all meshed together.
Yeah, I know. They
it might be Saturday too.
I'd have to go double check, but
yeah,
they made it
cool.
farther than people expected them to.
Yeah, a lot farther. Yeah, it was just so cool because, again, this might be the last event you and I see him, and like everyone that went to this event see him play live.
Yeah,
because he's 31 now. We don't know when he's going to retire, but we're lucky enough to see him.
Yeah,
we got some cool shots of him too.
Yeah,
screaming
awesome.
up in Clay fashion, pointing, "You fucking suck."
Yeah,
I love that.
Oh yeah,
I don't think we have enough of that in COD right now. Because a lot of the younger players are pretty quiet, or just in general. Maybe that's just not their personality. Besides Mr. Scrap, which we'll get into later. But dude, I like that. I like when they get hyped and stand up. Back in the day when Scump was playing, stand up, just scream,
and talk your shit.
Yeah, maybe not scream like at the other team, but he'll show emotion to the crowd, and he's like,
"Yeah,
let's fucking go."
Yeah. Oh yeah, I live for that stuff. I don't think, like, to your point, I don't think there's enough of that in Call of Duty. For sure, Clayster and Scrappy or Scrap, those are the two guys that are holding it down.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people talk about how they want that, and then Scrap does it all the time, and people hate on him.
Yeah.
People are like, dude, he talks so much. I'm like, bro, this is great, though.
Yeah.
Like, but Clay's up here. He beats a team, and he stands up, and he's like pointing at the other team. He's like, what was that? This is phenomenal. I live for that.
It's just a bias, like Clay's been doing it for so long. Right?
Yeah.
Like
right.
that's why.
Yeah, but I'm like, dude, but Scrap's insane.
Okay, yeah, see, but that's just us like logically thinking.
Yeah.
Right. And not just like, this guy fucking sucks.
Yeah. Like, dude, you shouldn't be talking like that. I'm like, well, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. Yeah.
But I'm like, the guy, he played phenomenal.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he's insane. He has every right to talk
shit.
Trash.
And guess what? He backs it up.
Yeah.
Very, very, very well.
And again, that's a personality thing.
Yeah.
Like the other guys on his team, you'll never catch them doing that.
No.
Like it's just, I don't think they could possibly do that.
Yeah.
But even today, like when they had chances to, like when three of us were there, like they would clutch up like 1v2s, and I wish they would have gotten up in bed. Like they look up like, what are you doing? But they just look at each other like,
oh no, yeah.
I'm like, bro,
they keep it within the team.
Yeah,
there's like I do respect that. Like they keep it within the team, but it's always nice every once in a while. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, get a little jump. Yeah, a little scream.
And it's quick too. You get up. What are you doing? Sit back down. Lock in. But yeah, and then what was it? Sunday.
Yeah,
which is today.
Yeah, so Saturday pretty much boiled down to
it was 5 games.
Yeah, it was a long day.
Yeah,
and then it boiled down to the top 4, which was FaZe, Optic, Toronto Ultra, and then Minnesota Rocker.
Yep. Yeah, and Rocker played against LAG on Saturday, last match. It went all the way to map
asleep.
5. Yeah, map 5. And first off, that match was to secure top 4. And I don't think anyone predicted LAG or Rocker to be finishing top 4 at this event. That was just so random.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the way it goes too, because I mean that venue, by the way, for that last match was it was a ghost town. Like, there were not a lot of people there, and I hate to say this, but it's kind of true.
Yeah.
I think because the other top 3 teams were FaZe, Optic, and Toronto, and they looked so insane all week. These teams, like, personally, there's FaZe, or like I'll say all 3 of them. There's like FaZe, Optic, Toronto, and then there's like Rocker. There's a huge drop off on those teams.
We'll say there's like the top 4, the middle 4, and then the bottom 4.
Right. That's a better way.
Yeah.
Because like most people, logically thought that, okay, like whoever is winning this is gonna place top 4. On Sunday, and they were right, because Sunday rolled around and Optic started off right. Optic was the first game to play, and they played Rocker.
Yeah.
And they beat them 3-1.
Yeah, and like again, like Optic, FaZe, and Ultra, they have the most fans too.
Yep.
And throw in subliners in there, but they got eliminated, right?
Yeah.
Like definitely the biggest upset. But I would say most people probably assume that Optic, FaZe, and Ultra were gonna be in the top 4, like going into here.
Yeah.
So that's why Rocker was weird going into there. But props to them.
Dude.
Props to Linz. That guy is a fucking beast.
And props to the old Boston boys, Awakening and Vivid.
Yeah.
Like, dude, those guys.
They
and of
cooked.
course, accuracy.
Yeah.
I gotta love them. But those 2 guys in particular, like being old Breach players, we were rooting for them.
Yeah.
Because we're always of the mentality, like, if you were once on the team, you're always on the team. And we were like that with TJ Haley too. Like, he was on the original Breach team.
He cooked too.
Yeah, he played all the Boston guys played really well.
Yeah.
Current and former, which was nice to see. I mean, I think it's kind of like, it's not say wishful thinking. Like, those guys obviously thought that they could beat them, otherwise like they shouldn't be playing. But for them to be to have placed 4th place against those teams, like looking now how insane they look, like they should be very, very proud of themselves.
Yeah. And
they took a map on Optic too. It's not like they got 3-0 annihilated. Like, they played them close.
And the other, I'm pretty sure the other maps too were close.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, like, relatively close,
Yeah.
They didn't get smoked out of the water. It was a deceiving, 3-1.
Yeah,
Optic.
there was a series earlier in the week. I think it was Seattle Surge and Toronto Ultra. And, man, that Seattle team, they were way different when they played the next day.
Yeah. Way different.
Because that Seattle team, they got wrecked.
Yeah.
Like, it was not fun to watch. It was a 3-0. They got annihilated. This 3-1, like you said, it was not that bad.
Yeah, it definitely was not that bad. And especially playing with the rookie too.
Yeah.
Like Linz, he fried all weekend.
Yeah.
And finishing top 4 as a rookie, not bad. Not bad at all.
So, yeah, that was the first game on Sunday, and then it went into the last we had 3 more matches after that, right?
FaZe Ultra in
FaZe
winners finals.
FaZe Ultra winners finals, and then Ultra won that, knocked FaZe down to play Optic for the second time over the weekend. FaZe won that as well again, and then it went back for the grand finals to FaZe and Ultra. And Toronto Ultra won that again.
They won.
Became the Major 1 champions.
Yep, they won 4-1.
Yeah. And I would say for that match, pretty convincingly.
Yep, yeah, definitely.
They are the well-deserved champions.
Yeah.
They look fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like Toronto, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Toronto winning that championship, they deserve it, and they are far and away the best team right now on paper. I think it's pretty much impossible to argue that. I think the way the rankings are right now as to how they place in that top 3, that's how it is. Ultra is way ahead of everybody, then FaZe, and then Optic.
Yeah, like FaZe and Optic are definitely close. Like they're I mean, obviously FaZe took both matches against Optic, both series against Optic, but those teams are close. The FaZe took both of them, but it wasn't like convincing or anything. They definitely could flip flop if one player just plays a little bit better or something on each team. But Ultra though, they fried.
Yeah,
they absolutely fried, and I don't
all weekend too.
All weekend. And FaZe, I think they kept applying pressure and it didn't really work. And Ultra just they took advantage of that, and this is when I was saying like earlier in the episode that Scrap, the guy that talks a lot of shit, he backs up, his shit talking a lot. Like he really backs it up, and I can't hate that. I mean, dude, when you trash talk, there's good trash talk. I'm fine with that. It's a competitive sport. You want to throw in a little trash talk, but you don't want to be turned into a meme when you're trash talking and then you get like destroyed.
Right.
Which that's going to happen. That will happen. But I swear to God.
That already has happened to him.
Oh, yeah, it has happened. But it rarely happens to him.
Yeah.
Like this dude is frying all the time.
Yeah.
Like he backs it up.
Yeah. No, he totally does. And again, just from last year, like Toronto looked really good. And then they had they had a really bad performance at Champs. And I loved in his interview at the end, he was pretty much like, man, fuck all that shit. Like, that's all behind me. Like, we're here now. Like, this is where it's at. Like, this isn't the last one. And I'm like, yeah, it sure doesn't seem like it. The way you're playing, if it stays like this, like, they're going to be dominant. Now, of course, like, again, we'll have to see how time goes on. But you never know. I mean, they look so far ahead of everybody. And I'm excited to see how they end up doing as like we go into now stage 2, leading into Major 2. Some of the improvements that like other teams and stuff make. But you also got to factor in too with all of these games that like that FaZe game and like that Ultra game, or like any of them, it really just depends on how that team is playing that day in that moment. Like it's not saying like you're not ever discrediting any teams because that's like that's their fault. You got to show up at that time when you need to. But I think what it shows for Ultra, like the scariest thing about them, it's not like their skills, but it's how consistent they are.
Yeah.
All the teams, like they showed, I'd say like in like quotations, they showed weaknesses at times. Ultra, I did not see that at all. Ultra just always they were insane all weekend, and they were able to, even though like, the first match I remember in the grand finals they played, they were getting kind of, that's like cooked, but they were losing at first.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh man, like his FaZe had just played. Ultra hadn't played for a little bit like that day. And then Ultra just was like, all right.
They smoked them 3-0.
Yeah. They're like, all right, let's go. They won that match. They ended up bringing that match back, winning it like, splitting hairs close.
Yeah.
And then after that, they started like compounding, just keep going and going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that really shows like that team is so resilient. They're so consistent. And I mean, of course, they're ridiculously skilled players.
Yeah. It was well deserved, those guys. So congrats again to, the boys at Ultra.
And love Dylan Envoy.
Oh, yeah.
I love seeing that guy win.
Yeah. And this is crazy that the old LA Thieves team that, disbanded after Octane retired, every single one of those players that left ended up on a top 3 team. Yeah, at this major.
Each one of them they're all split up on different teams, and each one of those teams got first, second, and third.
Yep. And so that just, that just shows like they're
all still pretty good.
I think they're all right there. Like, again, I would still place Ultra first, and then FaZe and Optic are like neck and neck. Yeah. And, again, who knows? Like FaZe and Optic, they have the potential next split to overlap Ultra.
Yeah.
I think any of those three teams are.
Yeah.
Like, they definitely can. It's a matter of who makes the least amount of mistakes.
Yeah.
Because if you make a mistake against any of these teams, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, they will take advantage of it and exploit you. So, yeah. And it was cool to see Dylan Envoy, his parents, they were there. His mom was there.
Yep.
Just cheering in the crowd for him. And fun fact, you and I have been to 2 events where Dilla's won.
Yep. Yeah, he won the New York one, I believe, with Thieves. And then he won this one now with Ultra. And side note, too, like, kind of closing on all this, like, it is always weird to see these guys in different jerseys.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Like, that's the thing, because it's so small. It's only 4 guys on a team. So seeing Envoy, like, in Octane not playing at all, seeing Kenny in Optic stuff, and then draws on phase, it's just like, oh. Like, yeah. It's so weird. You're like, bro, this is like a bad dream.
Yeah, it's really weird. Team. Yeah.
So it's Major 1 too, so it's still fresh.
Yeah.
Seeing them actually all together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really, really cool. I mean, and that was the end of it. They held up the trophy, and we had photos of it.
Yep. Those will be posted on Twitter eventually.
Yep.
And also we didn't mention Sunday they held Challengers.
Oh yeah.
The Challengers, like, grand finals, like, in the morning, and we were able to watch FaZe Black play against Lore Gaming, and it was really cool because Boston, they also had the Challengers event, one out of the 2 events this year, and Boston's hosting one. So again, shout out Boston.
Yeah.
Oxygen. And it was right across the street at the House of Blues. And it was 128 amateur teams that they went through this weekend, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And FaZe Black ended up winning, the whole thing. The grand prize, it was $100,000. And it was Kremp, Asim, Exceed, and who am I forgetting?
Kremp, Asim, Exceed. Who was the 4th on that team right now?
We know him.
Brack.
And what's crazy is that they teamed like a week and a half before this. That's when they formed the team.
Yeah.
And again, all those guys, if you don't recognize those names, they were all in the CDL at one point. And, they all decided to come together, and they fried. A week and a half they made this team, and they won the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah.
So I think that just, that shows the skill that they have.
That goes to show.
And Kremp, he was also on Boston last year, and it was cool seeing him win. And then on the other side, Lord Gaming, like, those guys, there are a couple, like, names that you and I didn't even know. Like, there was Craze, who we've heard of him, but, we're never, like, deep into challengers. Geo.
Glow Frosty.
Yeah, Glow Frosty, or Hamza. And who was their 4th? Oh, I forget. I feel bad.
Yeah.
Not disrespecting you guys. Let me check right now.
Yeah. So while you're checking, I mean, it was just really cool that first off, like, they had this tournament going on across the street, and then they brought it on the main stage. And there were a lot of people for the FaZe Black, like, fan base. Like, I guess for us, it was just like, we all knew these people. They're all CDL people. So it was cool to see them back on the squad, like, actually back on stage playing. Which, for me, I loved seeing Asim. I know you did too, because, I mean, Asim has always been a fan favorite for people in the CDL, and then seeing him now back there, and especially winning, it was really cool. A lot of those guys, they had, like, let's be honest, they had tough times when they were in the CDL because of the teams that they were on. But they ended up having, like, good amount of success being in amateurs. And they won that whole thing. And I think the whole tournament was what, $100,000?
Yeah, it was $100,000. Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, it's great for all those guys because, like, the amateur scene right now is really slim. It's only I think this one and then one more tournament that they're having.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Yeah, it's only 2 cups.
Yeah, so it's good that they did that.
And Boston, they hosted
one of them, of course.
Yeah, so it's Geo, Wiz, Craze, and Glow Frosty.
Wiz,
so I mean, those guys showed up, right? that's a tough team that they went up against.
Yeah.
That's a very tough team.
Yeah, but they ended up, like, I think they did take a map on them.
They did, yeah. It was a best of 7.
Yeah. So they did what they could, you know. And I saw ASIM and a couple of these guys, they tweeted at him again, being like, you know, you guys are, like, insane. Which is good, you know, it's good hype, good gas from them. But, yeah, I mean, that was the whole weekend for us. Like I said, we went and did that. You know, we were there. Man, we were there a lot. There was a lot of COD.
Yeah, Thursday through Sunday, and we were able to, you know, we shot like a lot of content like outside of our podcast.
Yep.
Which, you know, I know you guys have mentioned that you've wanted that, and you know, we took full advantage of it, right?
Yeah.
And
that'll be coming to the page shortly.
Yeah, and obviously outside of our comfort zone, right? Because we start off as we do the podcast,
yeah,
right? So we went and talked to a lot of like CDL fans too. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we capped off the night too, like fresh off. We went to Yard House to go get drinks and stuff, right? And also before we went to Yard House, right? You and I were like, oh man, we got to go meet up with Dylan and like Allie and try to get to Chance and Miles, because you know we've had Allie on the podcast, still on the podcast. This was going to be our first time like meeting them in person. We were able to meet Dylan. It was awesome. Didn't get a picture with him. Completely forgot. So
we'll see him though.
Dylan, if you're listening to this or watching this, we need a picture with you the next time you're here, so then you can go on the guest wall. But yeah, we couldn't catch like Allie or Miles or Chance.
So we were just like, whatever. Yeah. You know, it's a bummer. And then we go to Yard House.
Mm-hmm. Getting food.
Sure as shit. Who's there?
Yeah.
All of them. And we were like, bro, no way.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Chance's coming out of the bathroom, you know. So I ran in there now because I stopped him coming out. I'm like, dude, we'll grab a photo when you guys are all done eating. And they were like, oh, yeah, sure, man, no problem. And then we're just hanging out. We were watching the, the Lions game?
Yeah, NFC game.
Yeah, and watched that devastating end.
Yeah.
And then they just, like, totally, like, table crashed us.
that was hilarious.
It came over.
I was like, yeah, sure.
I thought we were just going to get a photo with them, but then they sat down with us and they're hanging out. We were chatting for a while. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it was awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. And
yeah, super cool of them.
But yeah, all three of them, hilarious. They're so funny.
Yeah, they're a really fun group to be around.
It's a ride. I can't imagine being part of that broadcast group. This would be a lot of fun. That's a fun group of people.
Yeah. So we actually got to meet Allie.
Yeah.
She remembered us, and she was like, "Oh my god," you know.
Yeah.
And got to go and talk with Chance and Miles again, and got a photo with them.
Story behind that is that we've gotten a picture with them at every event we've gone to, so
got to keep the tradition alive.
We got to keep it going.
But yeah, that was just like the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
It was like the perfect way to end the weekend. You know, we just had an awesome time watching the games. We had an awesome time, like, you know, getting into content, doing stuff. We were really stoked on that. And then, of course, with them, we were kind of like, you know, a little down and out, being like, oh, man, we're not going to be able to get a photo with them.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know, like 10:30 or so, you know, the game's over, they come over, and then we're all like, we were hanging out. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, manifested it.
Yeah. So it was, So it was really, really good. I mean, man, the Boston Major won. This is one to definitely remember forever. This was a really, really good weekend.
This was definitely a success of a weekend, and you know, again, I can't wait for the next one, man. Like wherever that next one is, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
So when it comes around again, if you didn't buy tickets,
you need to.
You gotta go buy tickets.
You have
to. If it's a little bit extra cash, you gotta start saving.
Yeah. Even if you can't get VIP, we recommend VIP if you can afford it.
Yep.
That's definitely the way to go. But even if you get general admission, totally worth it.
Oh, 100%.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And you get to meet some awesome people, really cool people. Everyone there is just super nice. Everyone that we've met. And I mean, hopefully we get to go to that major too.
Yeah, 100%.
You know? But yeah, again, like shout out to Oxygen, everyone there, Boston Breach, entire staff for like putting on the event. I hope you guys get some time off before
well-deserved time off.
Yeah, well-deserved time off before you get back to the grind again. And yeah, I mean, it was just awesome.
Yeah, man. I can't say it was awesome any more times.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, it was so good. So yeah, like closing out on that, like, man, if you have not gone before to, if you're in the area for a Boston major, or like there's plenty more that are gonna be going. Well, I say plenty more. There's 3 like majors that have been going on throughout the year. If you are somewhat close to them, and you haven't, or you're on the fence of going, definitely go. I mean, they are so good. And I think every year they're just getting better and better. So definitely go get your tickets and do it. You won't regret it.
Yeah, you won't regret anything.
Yeah.
And like before we end it, I'm gonna say that going to this event, like meeting, everyone there, it drives us more. I'm like, man, I was telling you when we got back, like I just want to do more content.
Right.
I want to just let's just create more stuff, whatever, right? And I mean that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, 100%.
Kick it into the next gear.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that's it, man. Wrap it up.
Bro. We're done.
Great event. And we got to get ready and go to bed because we got an early morning tomorrow to get back
100%.
home.
We got to shower, chill, and call it.
Yeah. But again, thank you, everyone. This has been episode 155 of the COD Casuals. Make sure to go to anchor.fm/the COD Casuals. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all streaming platforms. Leave a 5-star rating because that does help us out a lot. We're also on Instagram and TikTok. And if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, we cut it up into shorts and we post every single day over there. And yeah, thank you, everyone. This has been episode 155 of the COD Casuals. We're your host, Justin.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you guys next week.
Take it easy, everybody.
See ya.